Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk about The Walking Dead. Negan and Maggie meet up face to face, and we get some teases about that, and we also get some teases about the new villain. A lot of it's spoiler free. I will say this title, maybe it's just the way I'm reading it, maybe I'm cranky, but this is just disgustingly clickbait, man. I don't know how these people even get invited to premieres and shit like that when they're I don't know. I hate these type of articles. It says, The Walking Dead's Jeffrey Dean Morgan teases intense scene with spoiler. There is no spoiler. They cover what Jeffrey Dean Morgan says, which isn't even their article. It's what everyone does. I'm doing it right now. Originally, it's coming from an interview with Us. I think that's a magazine. And it just trickles down. Everyone just copies it. But out of that interview, Jeffrey Dean Morgan talks about spoiler-free stuff. Maybe you could kind of see some of it as spoilery, but maybe they meeting, confirming that they're going to meet in Season 9. Maybe that's the spoiler. But then at the very end of the article, the guy writing the article puts in the spoiler from the comic book and tells you what happens in the source material. So we won't read that if you don't want to know for the TV show. You comic fans, you already know what's going on. And it'll likely be remixed the same way. Just same outcome, but, different. Anyway, the Jeffrey Dean Morgan was talking about them not having a chance to film together. Now, side note, they actually did film together on, what was it, Batman v Superman? They were Bruce Wayne's parents, which is really cool. But here he says, other than the clearing in the woods when he killed Abraham and Glenn, there was no chance for them to have any screen time together, because she was hiding out, and then the war kicked off. And you can't even count the war because there's no one-on-one, no face-to-face. You know what I mean? So, Jeffrey Dean Morgan goes on to say, these two characters, her especially, have been waiting for a long time to have a little one-on-one time. And Negan knows it. Negan knows that she's been looking for him, and he's waiting on her. Maggie has yet to confront Negan, and they talk about what's been going on. Jeffrey Dean Morgan continues and says, whenever and however Maggie and Negan have their encounter, it will be very intense. It's very emotional. I think the audience is going to get goosebumps. It's very, very heavy. Now, I think people are speculating it's got to be around episode 5 or episode 6 this season. They might even surprise us and do episode 4. I don't know. It seems like a bit of a rush because in the comic, and I think they're rushing it because Maggie's leaving, because in the comic, it's not for a while. You know what I mean? If you were lining up where they're at in the comic, what stories they're remixing, it really wouldn't be until season 10, But they're definitely doing some kind of remix where they're bringing it closer into the story and kind of moving a little things back. It is a little bit odd. And we're going to get to that second article about the new villain, Alpha. And that is gutting. I mean, that gutted me reading that. And I'll explain in a second. Because even though the premiere got me excited for what's to come, this article reminded me of something that's just, I don't like it, Anyway, Jeffrey Dean Morgan goes on to say, he has always been in control, talking about Negan, and that has been completely stripped from him from every angle. Also, he's not able to talk to anyone. He may get up some gusto for a couple moments with Rick, because I think he, unlike anyone else on this show is ever going to do, gets under Rick's skin. And he will still find a way to push his buttons. But when Negan is alone, he's having a very, very hard time. And that seems like it connects really well with the source material. Carl's dead, so this is not a spoiler, but in the comic, when we first saw Negan locked up, Carl and him were having a conversation about this girl that Carl liked, and she wrote him a letter, or they liked each other, and he wanted to take a job at the Hilltop, and Negan was giving him some advice. He's like, talk to your dad. They were talking like friends. And then Carl gets up and he walks upstairs, and Negan, before Carl walks away, Negan's like, hey, it's been a few years now. I feel like we got this nice bond going on. Do you still want to kill me? And without missing a beat, Carl's like, yeah, absolutely. If I had the chance, I'd kill you right now. I forget what exactly he said, but basically it was yes. And after Carl walked away, Negan turned around and rested his head on the wall behind him, and then kind of just punched the wall a couple times. And he was cursing it out a little bit. You could tell that he was affected by it. And some people thought he was, I remember fans at the time thought he was just putting on a show, but there's no one down there. He's just in a basement. The only person he could be putting on a show for would be us, and that wouldn't make any sense because Anyway, Jeffrey Dean Morgan going on to talk about Negan and Lucille. He says he misses Lucille a lot. He will verbalize it. She's not just a weapon. It means a lot more to him than that. It's a crutch for getting through this world, and without it, he's not whole. He's having a hard time without Lucille. Now, I don't know if they're going to do what they did in the comic and have him have a side story that actually covers the origin of the bat, what it means to him, and his backstory. I don't know if they're going to do that since they already verbalized some of it with him and Gregory. So it would be like showing us some of what we already know. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure if they're going to go down that route. So if he's saying he's going to verbalize it more, this might even show us, or might even be confirmation that we're not getting a backstory to Negan. Because why would we if we already read the comic and he's already verbalized most of it, except for the finer details, all right, whatever. But it's the finer details that really, I don't know. I don't know if that's enough, to justify showing us. Anyway, then the writer of the article goes on to write the spoilers below. We're not going to get into them here, but because if you read the comic, you know. If you didn't, you probably don't want to know. But that confrontation between Maggie and Negan most likely will happen within the next few weeks, our timeline watching the show, at least by the 6th episode. So, and a lot of, I do see people ask if maybe she's not in episode 3 and she's not in 4, and then maybe she's in 6, but it's spread out. It does look like they've given us soft confirmation, not directly, but kind of hinted. Like, for example, Rick, we know he's done in 5 because Greg Nicotero confirmed he directed the episode, and that's the episode he directed. So kind of soft confirmation like that. We can pretty much confirm that she's only in the first 6. If it is a little spread out, I'd be surprised. But the next article is about the new villains, and this is where I was gutted. Andrew Lincoln teases the new villain. And it says, I'll read the first part. The Walking Dead gets a terrifying new villain in actress Samantha Morton, who Rick Grimes actor Andrew Lincoln has hailed as a scary force to be reckoned with. She's scared the bejesus out of all the crew, actually, Lincoln said during Comic-Con. I hate how this is worded. When talk turned to soon-to-arrive new villainess, Alpha, leader of the Whisperers, someone was doing an impersonation of a scene that she did, and even that scared me. I was like, oh my God, that's really scary. Here's where I was gutted. Just thinking about the Whisperers. Now, if you don't know, if you haven't kept up with this channel, the Whisperer storyline, this storyline in the comic, in the source material, I was a nut over it. It was my all-time, and it still is, the beginning at least, my all-time favorite story arc from the comic. It's a mastercraft. It was expertly done. It was a friggin' masterpiece. I felt like towards the end, it did get a little rushed to move on to the next thing, and it just whimpered out. It was kind of odd how it built up to this big thing, and it really did seem like Kirkman thought, you know what, we just had all-out war. We got this war going on in the TV show. We can't have another war in a comic. And it just went a whole weird different direction that was just like a balloon deflated. It kind of just whimpered. But maybe he has got something big coming up after that. We're still in the middle of that part in the comic now. But this is where I was so hyped for the Whispers on the show. I've been waiting years for them to get here. And Andrew Lincoln's Rick Grimes is my favorite character in The Walking Dead. Big time. And I was so hyped to see him go toe-to-toe with the Whisperers, or at least a few scenes with them now that we know he's leaving. And this is just that gutting confirmation that, yeah, it's most likely going to be the beef with the communities, the internal conflict for the beginning half, And then once Rick is dead, we'll likely get into the Whisperer stuff. And that's just so shitty. Oh, man. It still could turn out good, but man, we got Opie from Sons of Anarchy. He's Beta, you know? Oh, man. I don't know what to say. I have no words. That just crushed me. Anyway, Lincoln goes on to say, where is it? After encountering Morton on set, Lincoln rapped on Rick Grimes months ago, but returned to shadow a director ahead of making his first directorial effort on The Walking Dead in season 10, I believe. Lincoln said Morton, well, maybe it's the end of this season. Lincoln said Morton was so wonderful and loving being here, adding the actress called Alpha a role of a lifetime. And if they do her right on the show, she's going to be an iconic villain. They just need to tweak some things they did in the comic that they probably shouldn't have done. These kinds of roles usually go to men, so that's why she's thrilled. And she's given it an extraordinary attention and care, Lincoln added. So I think we are very, very fortunate to have her. There's a real good chance. Like, she's a good character actress. I think there's a chance that she could kill this. Again, if they give her the right story, I think this will work really, really good. Yeah, and then we got friggin' Opie as Beta. That's kind of like Alpha's right-hand man. New showrunner Angela Kang noted Morton has been working with a dialect coach and learning a brand new accent that she didn't know at all, and has embraced the grimy outerwear famously sported by her comic book counterpart. Yeah, they're like a mobile tribe, so they get real dirty, real grimy. Again, spoiler free for those who don't want to know, but that part surprised me because in the comic it didn't read like there was an accent. Unless they're a redneck or a thug, you know, and they talk a certain way where a writer will write it how it sounds with the, with slang and shit like that. So if you're not writing it like that, it's not going to read like that. So she didn't read like that, like she had an accent. So that's actually pretty interesting. Our cast doesn't care about being glamorous. They want it real. They want it to be dirty. They want it to be hard. And she embraces that, Kang says. She's the kind of actor, I think, the actors that are in the cast, they've really had a good time playing with her because they feel that commitment of, I'm in it for the ride. And longtime comic book readers have an idea of what to expect. Yeah, I won't read that in case there's spoilers in there. But, yeah, it will likely be remixed, almost definitely. Rick is gone, and then with Rick gone and Carl gone, there's so much, especially Carl. Even though Carl was all throughout the Whisperer storyline, and he was vital on surface level, you could definitely easily remix some of that, but it was still weaved all throughout. So they do have to do some heavy remixing. But I think the main notes of it should stay intact, without any problems. It's not like the world is over. It's just, can they make this work? Losing Rick Grimes and then losing Maggie, even though it's temporary. It's going to be a tough one. I'm definitely excited, even though no Rick versus the Whisperers is gutting. Because keep in mind, even though he's still here, it doesn't even count because he's leaving before we get the Whisperers. For the fans of the comic who've always wanted Rick and the Whisperers on screen, we're getting to that point now, but Rick is gone. Like, I can't even comprehend that right now, speaking out loud. It's just like, it's like the Whisperers don't even exist. It's like we're not even getting it. All right, that might be just the big fan and me whining a bit, but we'll have to see. I'm still excited. I'm still really excited for the Whisperers. They are great. I think this could work really good. Thoughts and opinions down in that comment box. I'm done talking, so it's your turn.